The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor of their Atlanta penthouse as Keisha Williams stared at the hotel receipt in her trembling hands. Room 1247. 4 nights. 2 guests. Her husband Marcus's corporate credit card. If you think betrayal can't get worse than this, you're wrong. Stay with me, because what happens next will shock you. The receipt was dated last weekend. The same weekend Marcus told her he was in Chicago closing a business deal. The same weekend she'd stayed home with their twin daughters, believing her husband of 12 years was building their empire. The same weekend she defended him to her sister, who said she saw him at the Ritz-Carlton downtown with a woman who definitely wasn't his wife. Keisha's hands shook as she scrolled through Marcus's credit card statements on her laptop. Designer jewelry from Tiffany's, jewelry she'd never seen. Expensive dinners at restaurants they'd never been to together. Hotel charges in cities where he claimed to be alone on business. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Working late again, baby. Don't wait up. Love you. The lies felt like physical blows now that she knew the truth. The front door clicked open downstairs. Marcus was home early. Keisha quickly closed the laptop and shoved the credit card statements under a stack of bills. Her heart hammered as his footsteps echoed up the stairs. She'd been married to this man for 12 years, given him 2 beautiful daughters, supported his dreams when he was broke, and helped build the construction company that now made them millionaires. "Hey, beautiful," Marcus said, appearing in the doorway of their bedroom. At 42, he was still the handsome man she'd fallen in love with in college. Tall, dark skin, perfect smile. The smile that was now a weapon of deception. "How was Chicago?" she asked, testing him. "Exhausting. These clients are demanding, but the contract is worth $2 million. We're almost there, baby." He loosened his tie and moved toward her for a kiss. Keisha turned her face away. "I'm tired." Marcus paused, studying her face. "You okay? You seem different. Just stressed about the girls' school fees and the new house renovation." "Don't worry about money, Keisha. I told you, I've got everything handled." He headed to the bathroom. "I'm going to shower." The moment the water started running, Keisha grabbed his phone from the nightstand. His passcode was still their anniversary date. How romantic for a cheater. Her fingers trembled as she scrolled through his messages. Her world collapsed. Text after text with someone named Simone. Photos that made her stomach turn. Messages about hotels, about when Keisha would be out of town, about how much he couldn't wait to leave his boring wife. The bathroom door opened. "Looking for something?" Marcus asked, water still dripping from his chest, his eyes fixed on his phone in her hands. The room went silent except for the sound of her heart breaking. "Who is Simone?" Keisha's voice was barely a whisper. Marcus's face changed. The loving husband mask slipped away, replaced by something cold and calculating. "Give me my phone, Keisha." 12 years, Marcus. 12 years I've stood by you. I worked 3 jobs to put you through business school. I believed in you when nobody else did. And now we're millionaires. You should be grateful. The word grateful hit her like a slap. Grateful? Grateful that my husband is cheating on me. Marcus snatched his phone from her hands. "Don't be dramatic. It's not what you think." "Then what is it? Explain these hotels. Explain the jewelry charges. Explain why you told Simone you couldn't wait to leave your boring wife." Marcus sat on the bed, suddenly looking tired. "Keisha, marriage is complicated. Men have needs. Get out." "What?" "Get out of this house. Tonight." Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. "This is my house, too. My company paid for it. Our company. I'm a co-owner, remember? I have just as much right." "Actually," Marcus interrupted, "you might want to check those legal documents again." Something in his tone made her blood freeze. "What are you talking about?" Marcus smiled, and it was the cruelest expression she'd ever seen on his face. "The house, the company, the bank accounts, they're all in my name, baby. You signed the papers yourself." The room spun. She remembered signing stacks of documents when they bought the house, when they expanded the business. Marcus had told her it was all formality, that everything was theirs together. "You're lying. Check the documents. They're in the safe." "Oh, wait." He pulled out a small silver key. "You'll need this." The key to their safe. The safe she'd never opened because she trusted him completely. Her phone rang. Unknown number. "Answer it." Marcus said, his smile growing wider. "I think it's for you." With shaking hands, she picked up the call. "Mrs. Williams? This is Janet Morrison from Morrison Family Law. I'm calling because your husband has filed for divorce. I have papers for you." The phone slipped from her numb fingers. Marcus stood up, getting dressed with casual confidence. "Simone and I are getting married next month. Don't worry, I'll make sure you get a fair settlement. Maybe enough for a nice little apartment." "The girls," Keisha whispered. "Oh, about that. I'm filing for full custody. A woman with no income, no assets, and clear emotional instability isn't fit to raise children. I helped build everything we have." "Prove it." Marcus grabbed his keys and wallet. "I'll be at Simone's tonight. Try not to break anything else." As the front door slammed shut, Keisha collapsed on their bed. The bed where she made love to a man who was systematically destroying her life. But she didn't know that the real shock was still coming. Her laptop chimed with a new email. From Marcus's assistant, clearly sent to the wrong address by mistake. "Divorce papers filed. Mrs. S is pregnant. Timeline is critical. Bank transfers complete." Mrs. S was pregnant with her husband's child. What will Keisha do when she discovers there's more to Marcus's betrayal than just another woman? The revenge is about to begin, and you won't believe what she finds next. Don't click away. Next chapter will leave you speechless. Keisha stared at the email until the words blurred through her tears. Her husband's mistress was pregnant. The man she'd loved for 12 years had not only betrayed their marriage, but was starting a new family while secretly stealing everything they'd built together. When betrayal becomes theft and your world crashes down, sometimes the only choice left is war. You're about to witness a woman discover her true strength. The house felt like a mausoleum around her. Every photograph on the walls, every piece of furniture they'd chosen together, every memory embedded in these rooms, all of it built on lies. She walked to Marcus's office and pulled out their marriage documents, business papers, and property deeds. Her signature was on everything, just as he'd said. But as she read through the legal language, a crushing realization hit her. Every document had been modified after she signed. Clauses added, ownership percentages changed, her name systematically removed from assets. Marcus had been planning this for years. Her phone buzzed. A text from her sister Aisha. "Girl, I'm sorry I had to be right about Marcus. Come stay with me tonight." Keisha called her immediately. "I should have listened to you," she sobbed into the phone. "Baby sister, forget about should have. What are you going to do now?" "I don't know. He took everything, Aisha, the house, the business, even filing for custody of the girls. And his mistress is pregnant. That bastard." Aisha's voice was fierce. "But you're a Williams woman. We don't go down without a fight. Come to me tonight. We're going to figure this out." An hour later, Keisha sat in her sister's kitchen in Decatur, surrounded by legal documents and a bottle of wine that Aisha insisted they needed for strategic planning. "Look," Aisha said, putting on her reading glasses. "I may just be a school principal, but I know enough about legal documents to see that something's not right here. These signatures look different from page to page." Keisha looked closer. Her sister was right. The handwriting varied slightly, as if someone had practiced forging her signature. "He forged some of these documents," Aisha continued. "That's fraud, Keisha. Criminal fraud. But can I prove it? We're going to find out. Tomorrow morning, we're going to see David Park." "Who's David Park?" "The best divorce attorney in Atlanta. And he happens to be a family friend who owes me a favor." The next morning, Keisha sat in David Park's office, feeling small in the leather chair across from his massive oak desk. David was a sharp-dressed Korean-American man in his 50s with a reputation for destroying cheating husbands in court. "Mrs. Williams," David said after reviewing her documents, "I have good news and bad news. The bad news is that your husband is very clever and has been planning this for at least 3 years. The good news is that he's also very stupid." "What do you mean?" David pulled out a magnifying glass and showed her several signatures. "These are definitely forged. I can prove it. But more importantly, if he's been planning this divorce while transferring marital assets to his name only, that's illegal dissipation of marital property. Can you get my half back? I can get you more than half. When a spouse commits fraud and hides assets, courts don't look kindly on that. but I need you to do something for me. Anything. Go home. Act normal. Don't let Marcus know you're onto his legal games. Meanwhile, I need you to document everything. Every asset, every business deal, every property. Can you access his computer? Yes, but do it. We're going to build a case that will not only get you justice, but will destroy his reputation in Atlanta's business community. That evening, Keisha returned to the house she called home for 8 years. Marcus wasn't there, but his clothes were gone from the closet. He'd moved out completely. Good. That would make her investigation easier. She opened Marcus's laptop in his office. His arrogance was astounding. He hadn't even changed the password. As she scrolled through his files, she found spreadsheets detailing every manipulation he'd orchestrated. Bank transfers, forged documents, even a timeline for the divorce with notes about minimizing Keisha's settlement. But then she found something that made her blood run cold. A folder labeled Insurance Policies. Inside were life insurance documents, policies on her life worth $2 million. Policies she'd never signed. Policies with forged signatures. Her hands trembled as she opened another file. Accidents. Research. Marcus had been researching ways that people died accidentally. Car crashes, home invasions, medical emergencies. He wasn't just trying to divorce her and take her money. He was planning to kill her. Her phone rang. Marcus. Hey, baby, I left some files in my office. I'm coming by to get them. When? I'm in the driveway now. Panic flooded her system. She quickly saved everything to a flash drive, closed the laptop, and ran upstairs just as she heard his key in the front door. Keisha? You here? She stayed silent, hiding in their bedroom as she heard him moving around downstairs in his office. 20 minutes later, he left. She waited another hour before coming back down. His laptop was gone, but she had the flash drive. The next morning, she sat in David Park's office again, this time with Aisha beside her for moral support. Mrs. Williams, David said after reviewing the files, you need to go to the police. Tonight. The police? Your husband isn't just committing fraud. Based on these insurance policies and research files, I believe he's planning to murder you. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. But why? Keisha whispered. Why not just divorce me? Because divorce means splitting assets, paying alimony, sharing custody. Murder means he gets everything and nobody questions the grieving widower. Aisha grabbed Keisha's hand. We're going to the police right now. Wait, David said. Before you do that, we need to be strategic. If Marcus realizes you have this information, you could be in immediate danger. I have a better idea. He pulled out a business card. This is Detective Sarah Coleman. She specializes in domestic crimes, and she's worked with my office before. But more importantly, she's going to help us set a trap. What kind of trap? We're going to let Marcus think his plan is working. Meanwhile, Detective Coleman will be monitoring everything. When he makes his move, we'll have him for attempted murder, fraud, and conspiracy. You want me to be bait? I want you to be the predator, Mrs. Williams. It's time to turn the tables. As I left the office, Keisha's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I know what Marcus is planning. Meet me at Piedmont Park tonight at 8 p.m. if you want to save your life. Come alone. A friend. Who knew about Marcus's plan? And why were they willing to help her? The game was about to change in ways none of them expected. Don't miss what happens when Keisha meets this mysterious ally. Next chapter will reveal a twist that changes everything. Keisha sat on the park bench in Piedmont Park as the sun set over Atlanta's skyline, every shadow making her jump. She'd told Aisha and Detective Coleman about the mysterious text, but they'd agreed she should keep the meeting. Coleman and 2 undercover officers were positioned nearby. When someone reaches out in the darkness, sometimes they're your only light. But in a world full of betrayal, how do you know who to trust? At exactly 8 p.m., a woman approached. She was tall, elegant, with caramel skin and sharp cheekbones. Designer clothes, expensive handbag, confident walk. She looked familiar, but Keisha couldn't place her. Mrs. Williams? I'm Simone Richardson. Keisha's world stopped. This was Marcus's mistress, the pregnant woman who was supposed to be her replacement. You're the other woman. Yes. Simone sat down beside her, and Keisha noticed her hands were shaking. But there are things you need to know about your husband. Things that could save both our lives. Both our lives? Simone pulled out her phone and showed Keisha a series of text messages. Marcus thinks I don't know, but I've been reading his emails. He's not planning to marry me, Mrs. Williams. He's planning to kill me, too. The messages were chilling. Marcus discussing eliminating loose ends and making sure nobody can connect him to anything. I don't understand, Keisha said. Marcus needs you dead for the insurance money and to avoid splitting assets. But he needs me dead because I know too much about his business dealings. Simone's voice cracked. I've been helping him launder money through fake construction contracts. I thought I was helping the man I loved build an empire. I didn't know I was helping him commit crimes. Money laundering? Williams Construction has been billing the city for jobs that never happened. Phantom projects, inflated costs, kickbacks to city officials. I've been managing the fake accounts. Simone wiped tears from her eyes. When I found out you were investigating him, I realized we're both in danger. Keisha's head spun. Marcus wasn't just a cheating husband. He was a criminal who'd built their wealth on fraud and corruption. How do I know you're telling the truth? Simone pulled out a tablet and showed her bank records, email chains, and documented transactions. Because I have proof. And because I'm scared, Mrs. Williams. Marcus told me you were just a bitter wife trying to destroy him. But when I saw the insurance policies on your life and the research about accidents, I knew I had to warn you. You're pregnant with his child. No. Simone's voice was barely a whisper. I was never pregnant. That was a lie. I told him to keep him interested while I figured out how to get away from him. But when I tried to end things last week, he threatened to kill me if I ever left him. The pieces clicked together. Marcus had been using both women. Keisha for legitimacy and credit, Simone for criminal activities and passion. And now both had become liabilities. What do you want from me? Keisha asked. I want to help you destroy him before he destroys us. Detective Coleman appeared from behind a tree, her badge visible. Ms. Richardson? I'm Detective Coleman. We've been listening to your conversation. Simone stood up quickly. I should go. Actually, you should stay. What you just described is a federal crime. The FBI has been investigating city corruption for months. We need your testimony. I'll go to jail. Maybe. Or maybe you'll be a cooperating witness who helps us catch a bigger fish. Coleman sat down. Mrs. Williams, your husband is connected to a corruption ring that's stolen millions from Atlanta taxpayers. With Ms. Richardson's help, we can take down the entire operation. What about my safety? Keisha asked. We're going to set up a sting operation, but it's going to require both of you to be brave. 3 days later, Keisha sat in her living room wearing a wire. The plan was simple. Get Marcus to confess to the murder plot while FBI agents recorded everything from the surveillance van outside. Marcus had agreed to meet her to discuss the divorce like civilized adults. He walked in at 7 p.m., looking relaxed and confident. You look good, Keisha. Divorce suits you. Sit down, Marcus. We need to talk. About what? David Park already made your pathetic demands clear. You're not getting half of anything I built. We built, she corrected. Marcus laughed. You typed some documents and answered phones. I built a multi-million-dollar empire. With dirty money. His smile faded. What did you just say? I know about the fake city contracts. I know about the money laundering. I know about Simone. Marcus's entire demeanor changed. He stepped closer, and she could see the calculation in his eyes. You don't know anything. I know enough to destroy you. No, Marcus said quietly. You really don't. Because dead women can't testify. Are you threatening to kill me? I'm telling you that accidents happen. House fires, car crashes, home invasions. Atlanta can be a dangerous city. Like the accidents you've been researching? Marcus froze. How do you know about that? I know everything, Marcus. The insurance policies, the forged documents, the murder plan. The question is, are you going to try to kill me tonight? Marcus's hand moved toward his jacket pocket. You always were too smart for your own good. FBI, nobody move. The front door exploded open as federal agents flooded the room. Marcus's hand was halfway to what Detective Coleman later told her was a loaded pistol. As they cuffed Marcus, he looked at Keisha with pure hatred. This isn't over. I have friends, Keisha. Powerful friends who won't let me go to prison. Actually, Detective Coleman said, Your friends are being arrested right now. We rolled up the entire corruption ring tonight. But as they led Marcus away, he called back to her. Check on your daughters, Keisha. I hope they're safe at their sleepover. Her blood went cold. The girls weren't at a sleepover. They were supposed to be with Marcus's mother. She grabbed her phone and called Marcus's mother immediately. Mrs. Williams? The girls aren't here. Marcus picked them up this morning. He said you approved a trip to Disney World. Keisha's knees gave out. Marcus had kidnapped her daughters. What happens when a mother's worst nightmare becomes reality and the man she once loved becomes her greatest enemy? The stakes just got higher than anyone imagined. Next chapter will reveal the desperate search for two little girls and a shocking truth about who else was involved in Marcus's plan. This is an Amber Alert for 7-year-old twins Kayla and Kendra Williams. Last seen with their father Marcus Williams, who is considered armed and dangerous. Keisha stood in the FBI field office in Atlanta, surrounded by agents, computer screens, and maps as the search for her daughters entered its 6th hour. When a mother's love meets a father's desperation, there are no rules anymore. This is the fight for everything that matters. Detective Coleman put a hand on Keisha's shoulder. We've tracked his car to a cabin in North Georgia. But Mrs. Williams, you need to prepare yourself. Marcus isn't the same man you married. Cornered criminals do desperate things. Agent Rodriguez, the FBI supervisor, spread photos across the table. The cabin belongs to City Councilman Jeffrey Hayes, one of the men we arrested tonight. It's remote, 2 hours north of here. Let's go get them, Keisha said. Mrs. Williams, this is a federal operation now. You can't. Those are my babies. Keisha's voice cut through the room like a blade. He took them because he knows that's the one thing that would destroy me completely. I'm not sitting in this office while my daughters are with a man who is planning to murder me. Her phone rang. Marcus. Agent Rodriguez quickly gestured for her to answer while they traced the call. Hello, Marcus. Did you really think you could destroy me and there wouldn't be consequences? Marcus's voice was different now, cold, unhinged. Where are my daughters? Our daughters. And they're safe. For now. Marcus, please. They're children. They didn't do anything wrong. Neither did I, until you decided to betray me. I gave you everything, Keisha. A beautiful house, financial security, status in this city. And you repaid me by trying to send me to prison. You were planning to kill me. I was planning to give you a peaceful death. Better than what you deserve after tonight. Agent Rodriguez was gesturing frantically. They almost had the location. The girls must be scared, Keisha said, trying to keep him talking. They keep asking for mommy. It's really quite pathetic. Rage filled her chest, but she forced her voice to stay calm. Let me come get them. We can work something out. Oh, we're going to work something out. You're going to call the FBI and tell them you lied about everything. Tell them I never planned to hurt anyone, that you made it all up because you're a bitter wife. Marcus, I'm going to disappear with Kayla and Kendra forever. There are countries where American fugitives can live very comfortably. The girls will adapt. The line went dead. We got it, Agent Rodriguez said. Remote cabin, Ellijay, Georgia. But there's a problem. If he sees us coming, he could run again, or... He didn't finish the sentence. Or what? Keisha demanded. Detective Coleman answered quietly. Or he could hurt them to avoid going to prison. Then what do? We need someone he trusts to get close to the cabin. Someone he wouldn't suspect. Simone, Keisha said immediately. He still thinks she's on his side. An hour later, they were driving through the mountains of North Georgia in an FBI convoy. Simone sat beside Keisha in the command vehicle, wearing a wire and looking terrified. I can't do this, Simone whispered. What if he realizes I betrayed him? Then my daughters die, Keisha said bluntly. And probably you too. But if you help us save them, you get witness protection and a new life. Mrs. Williams, I'm so sorry about everything. I never meant for any of this to happen. Keisha studied the woman who'd helped destroy her marriage. 3 days ago, she'd hated Simone. Now she was trusting her to save her children's lives. Why did you really get involved with Marcus? Simone was quiet for a long moment. Because I was stupid and lonely, and he made me feel special. He told me his wife didn't understand him, that she was just using him for money. He said he was going to leave you anyway. The oldest lie in the book. I know that now. But when you're desperate to be loved, you believe what you want to believe. They pulled off the main road onto a dirt path. Through the trees, they could see lights from a small cabin. Agent Rodriguez spoke into his radio. All units in position. Ms. Richardson, you know the plan. Get inside, confirm the children are safe, then signal us. Simone got out of the SUV with shaking hands. What if he doesn't believe me? Tell him you escaped FBI custody, Keisha said. Tell him you love him and want to help him disappear with the girls. And if he wants proof I escaped, Detective Coleman showed her a fake injury on her wrist. Tell him you fought the agents and got away. The makeup looks like real bruises. Simone walked toward the cabin alone. Through binoculars, Keisha watched her knock on the door. Marcus answered, looking suspicious but letting her inside. I can't see anything, Keisha whispered. The wire is working, Agent Rodriguez said through his headphones. She's talking to him now. Over the radio, they heard Simone's voice. Baby, I fought them and got away. I couldn't let them arrest the man I love. Marcus's voice. How did you find me? Jeffrey Hayes told me about this place before they arrested him. Marcus, we need to get out of here. The FBI is searching everywhere. What about Keisha's brats? Leave them. They'll slow us down. Keisha's heart stopped. Was Simone really trying to convince Marcus to abandon the girls? I can't leave them alive, Simone. They've seen too much. Then we'll take them with us. But we need to go now. There was a long silence. Then Marcus's voice again. Something's not right. You've been acting strange since you got here. I'm scared, baby. I just want us to be safe. Show me your phone. Another silence. This phone is new. Where's your regular phone? I lost it when I fought the agents. The sound of a slap echoed through the radio. You're wearing a wire. Screaming. Children crying. Marcus shouting. Go, go, go. Agent Rodriguez yelled. FBI agents stormed toward the cabin as Keisha ran behind them, ignoring their shouts for her to stay back. Through the cabin window, she could see Marcus holding a gun to Simone's head while her daughters cowered in the corner. Marcus Williams. FBI, come out with your hands up. Stay back, or I kill all three of them. Agent Rodriguez grabbed Keisha before she could run to the front door. Mrs. Williams, if you go in there, he'll kill everyone. He's going to kill them anyway. No, he's going to negotiate. As long as they're alive, he has leverage. Marcus appeared in the cabin doorway, using Simone as a human shield. I want safe passage to the airport and a plane to Mexico. Let the children go first. The children stay with me until I'm on that plane. Keisha could see Kayla and Kendra through the window, terrified and crying. 7 years old and watching her father threaten to murder people. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Get ready to run to the back window in 30 seconds. Who has this number? She whispered to Agent Rodriguez. He checked his team positions. All my agents are accounted for. The text came again. Trust me. Back window. 30 seconds. What was happening? Who else was out there in the darkness? The biggest surprise of the night was about to unfold, and it would change everything they thought they knew about Marcus's plan. Don't miss the next chapter. Someone unexpected is about to become the hero in this deadly game. Keisha crept toward the back of the cabin, ignoring Agent Rodriguez's urgent whispers for her to stay with the tactical team. Through the rear window, she could see her daughters huddled together while Marcus held his gun on Simone in the front room. Sometimes help comes from the most unexpected places, and heroes emerge from the shadows when you least expect them. What you're about to witness will shock you. A figure stepped out from behind a tree near the back window. Keisha nearly screamed until she recognized the face in the moonlight. It was Marcus's mother, Dorothy Williams, a 70-year-old woman who was supposed to be home in bed. Mrs. Dorothy? What are you doing here? Getting my grandbabies away from my fool son. Dorothy's voice was steel wrapped in velvet. I've been watching that boy make bad choices for 2 years now, but I draw the line at him terrorizing children. How did you know? I followed him here when he picked up the girls. I know Marcus better than anyone, and I knew this cabin because I used to clean house for the Hayes family years ago. Dorothy pulled out a set of keys. These still work on the back door. This is an FBI operation. You can't. Child, those are my grandbabies in there with a man who's lost his mind. FBI or no FBI, I'm getting them out. Dorothy moved with surprising stealth for a woman her age, unlocking the back door silently. Keisha followed, her heart hammering. Inside, they could hear Marcus shouting at the agents outside. I said I want a plane. You have 10 minutes, or I start shooting. Dorothy whispered. The girls are in the back bedroom. When I signal, grab them and run back out this door. Don't stop for anything. What about you? I'm going to have a conversation with my son. Before Keisha could protest, Dorothy walked into the front room like she was arriving for Sunday dinner. Marcus Donnell Williams. What in God's name do you think you're doing? The silence that followed was deafening. Through the doorway, Keisha saw Marcus's face go white. Mama? What are you doing here? I came to get those babies and take them home where they belong. Mama, you don't understand. Keisha betrayed me. She's trying to destroy everything I built. Everything you stole, you mean. Dorothy's voice carried the authority of a woman who'd raised 5 children and buried 2 husbands. I know about the fake contracts, Marcus. I know about the money laundering. Did you really think your old mama was too stupid to see what was happening? Marcus lowered his gun slightly. You don't know what you're talking about. I know you've been stealing from the city where I was born and raised. I know you've been cheating on a good woman who stood by you for 12 years. And I know you were planning to murder the mother of my grandbabies. She was going to send me to prison. You sent yourself to prison the minute you decided to become a criminal. Dorothy stepped closer to her son. But terrorizing children? Your own daughters? That's not the man I raised. While Marcus was distracted by his mother, Keisha slipped into the back bedroom. Kayla and Kendra were curled together on a small bed, tears streaming down their faces. Mommy, they whispered. Sure, babies. We're going home. She scooped them up, one under each arm, and headed for the back door. Behind her, she heard Dorothy's voice rising. Marcus, you give me that gun right now. You're coming home with me, and we're going to figure this out. I can't go home, Mama. They'll arrest me. Then maybe you'll use that time to find the man I raised instead of the criminal you became. 3 weeks later, Keisha sat in David Park's office receiving the best news she'd heard in months. The federal prosecutor is offering Simone full immunity in exchange for her testimony, David explained. And with the evidence we've gathered, Marcus is looking at 25 years minimum. What about the assets? Everything comes back to you. The house, the legitimate parts of the business, all bank accounts. Plus, the city is paying damages for the corruption case. You're looking at a settlement of over $3 million. And custody? Marcus will have no parental rights. He's facing federal charges, and a judge won't grant custody to a convicted felon. But even as relief flooded through her, Keisha felt empty. The money and the house felt meaningless without trust, without love, without the life she'd thought she was building. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Mrs. Williams, we need to meet. There's something about Marcus you still don't know. Something that puts you in danger even with him in prison. Who is still out there? And what secrets about Marcus remained hidden? The legal battle was won, but the war might not be over. Next chapter will reveal the hidden players in Marcus's criminal empire and why Keisha's fight for freedom is just beginning. Keisha met the mysterious texter at a small diner in East Atlanta, her nerves on edge despite Marcus being locked up in federal detention. The past 3 weeks had felt like borrowed time. Too quiet, too peaceful for a life that had been turned upside down. Just because the monster is caged doesn't mean his claws can't still reach you. Sometimes the real danger comes from those still walking free. The woman who slid into the booth across from her was someone she'd never seen before. Mid-50s, professional, with the sharp eyes of someone who'd seen too much. She introduced herself as Maria Santos. I'm a forensic accountant, Mrs. Williams. I've been investigating your husband's business for the FBI for over a year. I thought the investigation was over. Marcus is in jail. Marcus was middle management. The corruption ring goes much higher, and they're not happy that he got caught. Maria pulled out a tablet and showed Keisha financial records. Your husband laundered money for some very dangerous people. Not just city officials, organized crime, drug money, human trafficking profits. We're talking about millions of dollars that flowed through Williams Construction. Keisha's blood went cold. I had no idea. We know. That's why you're in danger. These people think you know where their money is hidden. What money? Marcus was skimming. He kept detailed records of every illegal transaction, but he was also stealing from the criminals. About $2 million that belongs to people who kill for much less. Where's this money? That's what they want to know. And they think you have it. As if summoned by their conversation, Keisha's phone rang. Unknown number. Answer it, Maria said. But be careful. Hello. The voice was electronically distorted, like something from a horror movie. Mrs. Williams. We need to talk. Who is this? People who lost money because of your husband's greed. We want it back. I don't have any money that doesn't belong to me. Marcus stole from us. $2 million. We know he hid it somewhere, and we know you were his partner. I wasn't his partner in anything illegal. Prove it. You have 48 hours to find our money and return it. If you don't, the line went dead. Maria leaned across the table. They're not bluffing, Mrs. Williams. These are people who've killed for less than $2 million. But I don't know where any stolen money is. Then we need to find it before they decide you're lying. That evening, Keisha stood in Marcus's old office with Maria and Detective Coleman, searching through every file cabinet, every drawer, every possible hiding place. He would have kept records, Maria said. Men like Marcus are compulsive about documentation. It's how they stay in control. We already went through his computer, Coleman said. Not his computer, his backup system. Criminals always have a backup plan. Keisha remembered something. He always kept a safety deposit box at First National. Said it was for important documents. Did you have access? I was on the account, but I never used it. The next morning, they sat in the bank vault as Keisha opened the safety deposit box with trembling hands. Inside were flash drives, documents, and a handwritten ledger in Marcus's careful script. Maria's eyes widened as she reviewed the ledger. This is it. Every transaction, every theft, every person he was stealing from. And look, she pointed to the last entries. He was planning to disappear with all of it. $2.3 million. Where's the money now? Maria checked the flash drives on her laptop. Offshore accounts. Cayman Islands, Switzerland, Singapore. All under fake names. Can we return it? We can try. But first, we need to make sure these people believe you're cooperating. Detective Coleman's phone buzzed. We have a problem. Someone broke into your house last night, Mrs. Williams. Destroyed everything looking for something. The girls are safe at your sister's house. But whoever did this left a message. At the house, the destruction was complete. Every piece of furniture overturned, every drawer emptied, holes punched in the walls, and spray painted across the living room wall in red letters. Find our money or die. They're escalating, Maria said grimly. Keisha's phone rang again. The same distorted voice. Did you get her message? I found records. Marcus hid your money in offshore accounts. We know about the accounts. We want the access codes. I can get them to you. Good. Tomorrow night, 10 p.m., the old warehouse on Memorial Drive. Come alone, bring the codes, and maybe you live through this. After the call ended, Detective Coleman shook her head. This is insane. You can't meet with these people. If I don't, they'll never stop hunting me. And eventually they'll go after my daughters. Then we set up a sting operation. No, Maria interrupted. These aren't street criminals. They're sophisticated, connected, and they'll spot law enforcement from miles away. If they think this is a trap, they'll disappear and come after Mrs. Williams later when she's not protected. So what do you suggest? We give them what they want, but we make sure they can never come after her again. That night, Keisha sat at her kitchen table writing letters to her daughters, just in case she didn't survive the meeting. Dorothy Williams sat across from her, having insisted on staying to help with the girls. Child, you don't have to do this alone, Dorothy said. I may be old, but I'm not helpless. Mrs. Dorothy, these aren't people you can talk sense into like you did with Marcus. Honey, I've lived in Atlanta for 70 years. I've seen criminals come and go. Most of them are just scared little boys with guns trying to prove they're tough. And the ones who aren't, Dorothy's eyes hardened. Well, that's what the Lord gave us courage for. The next evening, as Keisha prepared to meet the people who wanted her dead, she received a text from Simone. I know who they are. Don't go to that warehouse. It's a trap. How did Simone know about the meeting? And what trap was waiting for her at the warehouse? The most dangerous night of Keisha's life was about to begin, and the people she trusted might not be who they seemed. Next chapter will reveal the shocking truth about who's really behind the threats. Keisha stared at Simone's text message, her hands shaking as the clock on her kitchen wall showed 9:15 p.m. In 45 minutes, she was supposed to meet criminals who wanted $2 million she didn't have. When you're walking into hell, sometimes the devil offers to be your guide. But in a world where everyone has betrayed you, how do you know who's trying to save you and who's leading you to slaughter? Her phone rang immediately. Simone, don't go to that warehouse, Simone said without preamble. It's not just about the money. They're going to kill you no matter what you bring. How do you know about the meeting? Because I've been getting threats too. These people think I know about Marcus's stealing because I helped with the money laundering. They want both of us dead. Who are they? The Betrayal brothers. Russian mob. They've been using Atlanta construction companies to clean drug money for years. Marcus was stealing from them, and they don't forgive or forget. Keisha's blood froze. Russian mob. Not just street criminals, but international organized crime. Simone, how do you know all this? A long pause. Because I wasn't just Marcus's mistress and business partner. I was working undercover for the DEA. The world stopped spinning. What did you just say? My real name is Agent Simone Martinez, DEA. I've been investigating the Petrov money laundering operation for 2 years. Getting involved with Marcus was part of my assignment. You're a federal agent? I was trying to gather evidence against the Petrovs when Marcus started stealing from them. That complicated everything. When he got arrested, my cover was blown. So everything between you and Marcus was fake? The relationship was fake. The danger is real. Keisha, they're not meeting you to get the money back. They're meeting you to eliminate witnesses. Detective Coleman's voice came on the line. She'd been listening. Agent Martinez, why didn't you identify yourself during the arrest? Because I couldn't blow 2 years of undercover work until we had enough evidence to take down the entire network. But now that Marcus talked and the money trail is exposed, my mission is compromised. What do we do? Keisha asked. We spring the trap they don't know is coming, Coleman said. An hour later, Keisha sat in an unmarked van 3 blocks from the warehouse, wearing a wire and a bulletproof vest. Agent Martinez, she was still getting used to thinking of Simone as a federal agent, was in the passenger seat reviewing the operation plan. They'll have at least 4 men inside, Martinez explained. The Petrov brothers don't take chances. They expect you to come alone with the account information. What if they search me and find the wire? Then we move in immediately. But Keisha, I need you to understand. These aren't people who negotiate. If they think you're working with law enforcement, they will kill you instantly. So why are we doing this? Detective Coleman answered from the driver's seat. Because it's the only way to end this. Either we get them tonight, or they hunt you and your daughters for the rest of your lives. At 9:58 p.m., Keisha walked toward the abandoned warehouse on Memorial Drive. The building had been empty for years, windows broken, weeds growing through the parking lot. Perfect place for a murder. 2 men in expensive suits flanked the entrance. They searched her thoroughly but professionally and missed the tiny wire sewn into her bra strap. Inside, the warehouse was dimly lit by a few hanging bulbs. 3 more men waited in the shadows, and at the center of the space stood 2 men who could only be the Petrov brothers. They were younger than she'd expected, maybe 40 and 45, with the kind of cold eyes she'd only seen in movies. Expensive clothes, gold watches, the confidence of men who'd never been told no. Mrs. Williams, the older one said with a slight Russian accent, I am Victor Petrov. This is my brother Alexei. You have something that belongs to us. I have the account numbers and access codes, Keisha said, pulling out a folded paper from her purse. Victor examined the paper. These accounts show $2.3 million. But we know Marcus stole more than that. That's everything I found. You see, Mrs. Williams, we have a problem. Our accountants tell us nearly $4 million went missing from our operations. You claim you only found $2.3 million. Keisha's heart sank. Marcus had stolen even more than they discovered. I'm telling you the truth. That's all I found. Alexei spoke for the first time. Then perhaps your husband hid money in places you haven't looked. Perhaps your children know something. The threat was clear and immediate. My daughters are 7 years old. They don't know anything about their father's business. Children hear things, Victor said casually. Children remember things. We may need to ask them some questions. You stay away from my children. That depends entirely on whether you find the rest of our money. This wasn't going according to plan. They weren't just trying to recover stolen money. They were planning to torture her family for information that might not even exist. I need more time to search, Keisha said. You need to understand your situation, Victor replied. We are not Americans who call lawyers and file lawsuits. We are not criminals who make threats and then disappear. We are businessmen who solve problems permanently. He pulled out his phone and showed her a photograph that made her knees buckle. It was her sister Aisha's house, taken from across the street, with a clear view of the girls playing in the backyard. Beautiful children, Alexei said. It would be unfortunate if something happened to them because their mother couldn't find our money. That's when Keisha realized the terrible truth. Even if she found every missing dollar, these men were never going to let her family live. They knew too much now. They'd seen too much. Agent Coleman, she whispered in her wire, they're going to kill us all no matter what I give them. We know, came the reply in her earpiece. Get them to admit to the threats against your children. We need them on record. So, Victor continued, you have 24 hours to find the remaining money. If you fail, we will visit your sister's house tomorrow night. And if I find it, Victor smiled, and it was the most terrifying expression she'd ever seen. Then we will kill you quickly instead of slowly. The warehouse suddenly filled with light as FBI agents surrounded the building. Federal agents. Nobody moved. The Petrov brothers didn't panic. They didn't run. Victor simply looked at Keisha and nodded with what might have been respect. Clever woman, but you have made a terrible mistake. What mistake? You think arresting us solves your problem. But we are just employees, Mrs. Williams. Our boss is still out there, and he does not forgive those who cost him money. As they led the brothers away in handcuffs, Victor called back to her. Give our regards to your daughters. Outside the warehouse, Agent Martinez put an arm around Keisha's shaking shoulders. It's over. We got them. No, Keisha said quietly. Victor was right. This was just the beginning. Who was the mysterious boss Victor mentioned? And how do you protect your family from an enemy you can't see coming? The Petrov brothers were behind bars, but the real power pulling the strings was still free. Next chapter will reveal the shocking identity of the person who's been orchestrating everything from the shadows. 3 days after the Petrov arrests, Keisha thought she could finally breathe again. The girls were back home, the house was being repaired, and federal agents assured her the immediate threat was over. She was wrong. Sometimes your greatest enemy hides behind the face of your greatest friend. And sometimes the person trying to protect you is the one who's been destroying you all along. The call came at 6 a.m., jolting her from the first peaceful sleep she'd had in weeks. Mrs. Williams? This is Agent Sarachan with the FBI. We need you to come to the field office immediately. What's wrong? We found the missing money. All of it. But where we found it is going to shock you. An hour later, Keisha sat in the same FBI conference room where this nightmare had started, staring at financial documents spread across the table. The remaining money was in an account we almost missed, Agent Chen explained, hidden under a corporate shell company called Guardian Angel Investments. I've never heard of that company. Neither had we, until we traced the corporate filings. Mrs. Williams, Guardian Angel Investments has one owner. She turned the document toward Keisha, and the world collapsed. The signature at the bottom belonged to Dorothy Williams, Marcus's mother. There has to be a mistake, Keisha whispered. There's no mistake. Mrs. Dorothy Williams has been the silent partner in her husband's criminal enterprise for over 3 years. Detective Coleman entered the room, her face grim. It gets worse, Keisha. We've been monitoring Dorothy's communications since we found the account. She's been in contact with someone called the Director for months. The Director? The real boss of the money laundering operation. The person Victor Petrov answers to. Agent Shin pulled out a tablet showing intercepted text messages. Look at these communications from yesterday. The messages were chilling. Dorothy, the FBI has the boys. Plan compromised. Unknown. Eliminate the loose ends. All of them. Dorothy, including the grandchildren? Unknown. Especially the grandchildren. They've seen too much. Dorothy, understood. We'll handle tonight. Keisha's hands shook so violently she couldn't hold a tablet. Dorothy was going to kill my daughters? Mrs. Williams, we think Dorothy has been manipulating this entire situation from the beginning. She may have been the one who told Marcus to steal from the Petrovs, knowing it would eventually lead to eliminating you and making her the sole guardian of your children. But why? She loves those girls. Detective Coleman sat down across from her. We think she wanted to disappear with them. Start over somewhere else with Marcus's stolen money and 2 little girls who would inherit everything legally. Where is she now? That's the problem. She picked up her daughters from school an hour ago. Terror flooded Keisha's system. You let her take my children? She's their grandmother and legal emergency contact. The school had no reason to refuse her. Agent Sean was already on her radio. All units, locate Dorothy Williams and 2 7-year-old girls. Consider all subjects in extreme danger. Keisha's phone buzzed. Dorothy, don't answer it. Agent Sean said. We need to trace. Keisha grabbed the phone. Where are my daughters? Dorothy's voice was completely different now. Cold, calculating, nothing like the loving grandmother who'd saved them at the cabin. Hello, dear. The girls are safe. For now. Dorothy, please. Whatever you're planning, don't involve the children. Oh, but they're central to the plan. You see, with Marcus in prison and you about to have an unfortunate accident, someone needs to raise those beautiful girls. Someone who truly understands the value of the empire we built. You were part of this from the beginning. Dorothy laughed, and the sound made Keisha's skin crawl. Child, where do you think Marcus learned to be so ruthless? I've been running criminal operations since before you were born. The sweet grandmother act was just that, an act. Though I do love Kayla and Kendra. They'll make excellent daughters for me in whatever country we end up in. The FBI knows everything, Dorothy. The accounts, the communications, the plan to kill us. It's over. Actually, it's just beginning. You have 1 hour to meet me at Piedmont Park, same bench where you met Agent Martinez. Come alone, no wires, no FBI backup. If I see any law enforcement, your daughters will disappear forever. Dorothy and Keisha, if you think I won't hurt them, remember that I shot my own son to maintain my cover. Blood doesn't mean as much to me as you might think. The line went dead. Agent Chun was already mobilizing teams. We'll have snipers positioned, undercover agents. No, Keisha interrupted. She'll see them coming, and she will hurt my daughters. Mrs. Williams, this woman has been orchestrating everything from the beginning. She's not the person you thought she was. Detective Coleman pulled up Dorothy's real background on her computer. Keisha, look at this. Dorothy Williams isn't even her real name. She's actually Diana Volkov, former Soviet intelligence, wanted by Interpol for 15 years. The photograph showed a younger Dorothy, but the eyes were the same. Cold, calculating, deadly. She's Russian. Former KGB who went into business for herself after the Soviet Union collapsed. The grandmother act, the sweet old lady routine. It's been a cover identity for decades. How did I not see this? Because she's a professional. She played the role perfectly for years, probably planning this endgame the entire time. Keisha's phone buzzed with a text message. A photo of her daughters sitting in what looked like a car, both crying. The message read, 50 minutes now. Come alone or they disappear. I have to go, Keisha said, standing up. You'll be walking into a trap. My daughters are already in the trap. I'm going to get them out. As she headed for the door, Agent Shin called after her. Mrs. Williams, there's something else. We found communications between Dorothy and someone in the federal prosecutor's office. She's been getting inside information about the investigation. What does that mean? It means she knows exactly what evidence we have, exactly what we're planning, and exactly how to stay one step ahead of us. The most dangerous woman Keisha had ever met was holding her children hostage, and she had been feeding information from inside the FBI. How do you fight an enemy who knows your every move before you make it? The final confrontation was coming, but Dorothy held all the cards. Next chapter will reveal the shocking truth about how deep this conspiracy goes and who else has been betraying Keisha from the inside. Keisha sat on the park bench in Piedmont Park at exactly 8 p.m., watching every shadow for movement. The FBI had wanted to wire her, position snipers, flood the area with undercover agents. She'd refused it all. Dorothy, or Diana Volkov, had proven she was always one step ahead. When you're facing your final battle, sometimes you have to fight with nothing but love and desperation. But what happens when your enemy holds all the weapons and all the secrets? Dorothy appeared from the tree line, walking calmly with both girls holding her hands. To any passing jogger, they looked like a grandmother taking her grandchildren for an evening stroll. But Keisha could see the fear in Kayla and Kendra's eyes. "Hello, dear," Dorothy said, sitting beside her on the bench while the girls sat on a blanket at their feet. "You look tired. Let it go, Dorothy. This is between us." "Is it?" "Because from where I sit, this is about a $4 million empire that I spent 3 years building through my son's construction company. An empire you're trying to destroy by turning Marcus in for his crimes." Dorothy laughed. Marcus didn't have the intelligence to plan any of this. The fake contracts, the money laundering, the systematic theft from the Petrovs, that was all my design. "Why?" "Because I needed retirement money, dear. Do you have any idea how expensive it is to disappear when Interpol has been hunting you for 15 years? Keisha glanced at her daughters, who were sitting quietly but listening to every word. "The girls don't need to hear this. Actually, they do, because they're going to help me disappear. 2 American children with clean passports are excellent cover for an old woman traveling internationally. They'll never go with you willingly." "Oh, but they will, because I'm going to tell them a very sad story about how their mother died in a car accident, and now Grandma Dorothy is the only family they have left." The casual way she discussed murdering Keisha made her blood freeze. "The FBI knows everything, Dorothy. They know who you really are." "Do they?" "Because my source in the federal prosecutor's office tells me they only know what I've allowed them to know." "Your source?" Dorothy smiled. "Did you really think Agent Martinez was the only federal employee on my payroll?" The betrayal hit like a physical blow. Someone else in the FBI was feeding information to Dorothy. "Who?" "Someone who's been watching this entire investigation unfold and making sure I stayed ahead of every move." Dorothy checked her watch. "In fact, they should be here any moment to help clean up this loose end." A car pulled up across the street from the park. Agent Chen got out and walked toward them. "Agent Chen," Dorothy called pleasantly. Right on time. Keisha's world shattered as Agent Chen approached with a gun drawn, pointed at Keisha, not at Dorothy. "I'm sorry it had to end this way, Mrs. Williams," Agent Chen said. "But Diana and I have been planning this for too long to let it fall apart now." "You're working with her?" "Diana recruited me 2 years ago when my mother needed expensive cancer treatment that my FBI salary couldn't cover. She offered me $500,000 to keep her informed about federal investigations." Dorothy stood up, brushing dirt from her pants. "Agent Chen is going to file a report explaining how you were tragically killed by Russian criminals seeking revenge. Your daughters witnessed it, of course, and they're so traumatized that their grandmother is taking them away to recover. The other FBI agents will know something's wrong." "Will they?" Agent Chen was the lead investigator. "She'll control the narrative completely." Agent Chen moved closer, her gun steady. "Mrs. Williams, I need you to understand that this isn't personal. It's just business. My children will remember what really happened." "Children forget traumatic events," Dorothy said calmly, "especially when they're given new identities and new stories about their past. Kayla and Kendra will eventually believe their mother died in an accident and their loving grandmother saved them." That's when Keisha realized she had one card left to play, something Dorothy didn't know about. During the drive to the park, she called Maria Santos, the forensic accountant. Not to bring law enforcement, Dorothy would spot that immediately, but to activate something Marcus had built into his criminal enterprise that even Dorothy didn't know about. "Dorothy," Keisha said, "before Agent Chen shoots me, you should know that I transferred all $4 million out of your accounts 3 hours ago." Dorothy's confident expression flickered. That's impossible. Those accounts require my biometric verification. Marcus was paranoid about partners betraying him. He built backdoor access into every account, every shell company, every criminal enterprise he touched. He gave me the access codes the day before his arrest, thinking I might need a run if things went bad. You're lying. Keisha pulled out her phone and showed Dorothy the bank transfer confirmations. For $1 million, moved from Guardian Angel Investments to an account Dorothy had never seen. I transferred everything to a children's charity that provides legal services to families affected by domestic violence. By tomorrow morning, every dollar you stole will be helping women escape situations like mine. Dorothy's mask finally fell away completely. The sweet grandmother disappeared, replaced by a cold-blooded killer. Agent Chun, shoot her now. But Agent Chun hesitated. If she moved the money, we need to know where it went before. Dorothy pulled out her own gun and shot Agent Chun in the chest. Some loose ends need to be cut immediately, she said as Chun collapsed. The girl screamed. Keisha lunged forward, putting herself between Dorothy and her daughters. You just killed a federal agent. Even if you run, they'll never stop hunting you. Then I guess I'll have to disappear more thoroughly than I planned. Dorothy pointed the gun at Keisha. And eliminate all witnesses. That's when the park filled with FBI agents, police officers, and SWAT teams emerging from every direction. But Dorothy didn't seem surprised. One last lesson, dear, she said to Keisha. Never trust anyone completely. She raised the gun to her own head. Grandma, no, Kayla screamed. Dorothy paused, looking at the girls with what might have been genuine love for the first time. I'm sorry, babies. Grandma made some bad choices. The gunshot echoed across Piedmont Park. As Dorothy's body fell beside Agent Chin's, Detective Coleman reached Keisha and the girls. How did you know to come? Keisha asked, holding her daughters tight. Maria Santos. She's been monitoring the transfers in real time. When the money moved, she knew something was happening and called us. The money is exactly where you said it is. Though I suspect the charity is going to have some very complicated questions about their sudden donation. What about Agent Chun? Coleman looked at the paramedics working on the wounded agent. She'll live, and she'll have a lot of questions to answer about her relationship with Dorothy Williams. As the crime scene teams processed the area, Keisha sat on the park bench with her daughters, finally understanding that the nightmare was truly over. But scars from this kind of betrayal don't heal overnight. How do you rebuild your life when everyone you trusted has betrayed you? And how do you protect your children from the trauma of everything they've witnessed? The final chapter will reveal how Keisha and her daughters begin to heal and what help arrives when they need it most. 6 months later, Keisha stood in the kitchen of her new home in Stone Mountain, Georgia, watching her daughters play in the backyard through the window. The house was smaller than the Atlanta penthouse, but it felt like a sanctuary. Somewhere Marcus and Dorothy had never been, somewhere their lies couldn't reach. After surviving betrayal, theft, and murder attempts, sometimes the hardest battle is learning to trust again. But when God closes one door, sometimes he sends an angel to open another. The insurance settlement, the recovered money, and the federal compensation for her ordeal had left her financially secure. More importantly, the girls were laughing again. Therapy had helped them process the trauma, and slowly, they were becoming children instead of witnesses to their parents' destruction. The doorbell rang. Keisha opened it to find David Park, her attorney, holding a large envelope. Good news, he said, stepping inside. The federal prosecutor finished reviewing all of Marcus's cases. Every contract Williams Construction completed will be re-examined, but any work you can prove was legitimate stays in your name. How much of the business was actually legal? About 60%, which means you're now the owner of a legitimate construction company worth approximately $2 million. I don't know anything about running a construction company. David smiled. Actually, you know more than you think. You handled the administrative side for years, and I might have a solution for the technical side. He handed her the envelope. There's someone who wants to meet you. Inside were business credentials and a letter of recommendation for someone named James Mitchell, a construction foreman who'd worked for Williams Construction for 5 years before quitting in disgust when he realized Marcus was involved in illegal activities. James kept detailed records of every legitimate job, every honest worker, every real project, David explained. He's willing to partner with you to rebuild the company the right way. Why would he want to work with me? Because he knows you had nothing to do with Marcus's crimes. And because he believes good companies shouldn't die because of bad owners. That afternoon, Keisha met James Mitchell at a coffee shop in Decatur. He was a tall, soft-spoken man in his 40s with calloused hands and kind eyes. The kind of person who looked you in the eye when he talked and meant what he said. Mrs. Williams, James said, I want you to know that everyone who worked for Williams Construction knew you were a good person. We could see how Marcus treated you, and we respected how you handled yourself. I had no idea what he was really doing. We know, and that's why 12 of us want to come back and work for you. We believe in honest construction work, and we believe you'll run an honest company. I don't know how to run a construction company. James smiled. But you know how to run a business. You know how to treat people with respect. You know how to make hard decisions when you have to. The rest, we can teach you. 3 months later, Keisha stood on a job site in East Atlanta, wearing a hard hat and watching her crew renovate a community center. The sign outside read, Phoenix Construction Company, building dreams, restoring hope. She'd renamed the company after the mythical bird that rose from ashes. It seemed appropriate. Mrs. K, one of the workers, called out. The electrical inspection passed. We're ahead of schedule. James walked over, checking his clipboard. If we maintain this pace, we'll finish 2 weeks early and under budget. How's that possible? When people work for someone they respect instead of someone they fear, they do better work. That evening, Keisha attended a community meeting at the center they were renovating. Local residents wanted to thank the construction company that had donated labor to help rebuild their neighborhood facility. An elderly woman named Mrs. Patterson stood up to speak. 6 months ago, this center was falling apart. The roof leaked, the windows were broken, and we thought we'd have to close it down. Then Phoenix Construction showed up and said they wanted to help our community. Applause filled the room. But what makes this special, Mrs. Patterson continued, is that Mrs. Williams didn't just write a check. She brought her daughters here to help paint walls and plant flowers. She made this personal. Keisha looked at Kayla and Kendra, who were sitting in the front row wearing matching Phoenix Construction t-shirts, beaming with pride. We wanted our girls to see that sometimes good comes from bad situations, Keisha said when asked to speak. That when life knocks you down, you have a choice. You can stay down, or you can get up and help others rise too. After the meeting, as they walked to their car, Kendra tugged on her mother's hand. Mommy, are we rich again? Keisha knelt down to her daughter's level. Baby, we were never really rich when we had that big house and all that money, because it was built on lies. Now we have something better. What's that? We have truth. We have people who respect us. And we have each other. What about Daddy? Kayla asked quietly. It was the question Keisha had been dreading and expecting for months. Daddy made bad choices, sweetheart. He hurt people, including us. But you know what? That doesn't change the fact that you two are amazing, smart, beautiful girls who can grow up to be anything you want to be. Will we see him again? Someday, when you're older, you can decide if you want to visit him. But right now, our job is to build a good life for ourselves. That night, after the girls were asleep, Keisha sat on her front porch with a cup of tea, looking at the stars. Her phone buzzed with a text from Maria Santos, who had become an unexpected friend through all of this. Saw the news story about the community center. You should be proud, Keisha texted back. Some days I can't believe this is my life now. Better or worse than the penthouse? So much better. I sleep at night now. Any word from Marcus? Keisha hesitated before responding. Marcus had been writing letters from federal prison, letters she hadn't opened. He was serving 25 years and would likely die behind bars. The man she'd loved for 12 years was gone, replaced by someone she'd never really known. He writes, I don't read them. Good for you. The next morning brought news that would change everything again. Detective Coleman called with an update that made Keisha's heart skip. Keisha, I have news about Agent Chun. Sarah Chun had survived Dorothy's shooting and was facing federal charges for corruption, but she'd been cooperating with investigators in exchange for a reduced sentence. What kind of news? She just gave us information about a safety deposit box Dorothy kept under another identity. We opened it yesterday. What was in it? Letters, Keisha. Love letters that Marcus wrote to you during college. Photos of you and the girls. Documentation proving that you were never involved in any criminal activity. Dorothy had been collecting evidence to protect you if she needed to frame someone else. Keisha was quiet for a long moment. She kept proof that I was innocent. More than that, she kept a detailed diary about how much she admired the woman you were. How you worked 3 jobs to support Marcus through school. How you stood by him when his business was struggling. How you were a devoted mother. I don't understand. If she admired me, why did she try to destroy me? Because she needed you gone to complete her plan, but she wanted evidence that would clear your name posthumously. Even Diana Volkov, a former Soviet agent and career criminal, recognized that you were a good person who didn't deserve what happened to you. After the call ended, Keisha sat in her kitchen trying to process this final revelation. Even her enemies had known she was innocent. Even criminals had documentation proving her worth. For the first time in months, she cried. Not from pain or fear, but from relief. The woman she'd always believed herself to be, loyal, hardworking, devoted to family, was real. The gaslighting, the manipulation, the systematic destruction of her self-worth had all been lies. Her phone rang. James Mitchell. Mrs. Williams, I just got a call from the mayor's office. They want to meet with Phoenix Construction about a major project. What kind of project? Rebuilding the community center where we first met. They were so impressed with our work that they want us to design and build a new facility from the ground up. It's a $2 million project. James, are you sure we're ready for something that big? Mrs. Williams, 6 months ago you were a woman who'd lost everything. Today you're running a construction company that's known for integrity and quality work. If you're not ready now, when will you be? That evening, Keisha stood in the girls' bedroom doorway, watching them sleep. Kayla had Dorothy's old journal, the one where she'd documented their activities together, and she'd been writing her own entries about their new life. Keisha opened the journal to a recent entry. Today, Mommy taught me how to read blueprints for the new community center. She said girls can build things just like boys can. I want to be an architect like Mommy is becoming. Kendra wants to be a teacher. We talked about Daddy today, and Mommy said he made bad choices, but that doesn't mean we will. I think Mommy is the strongest person in the world. At the bottom of the page was a drawing of their family, but it was just Keisha, Kayla, and Kendra surrounded by hearts and flowers. Marcus and Dorothy were nowhere to be found. The girls had rewritten their family story. They'd chosen who belonged and who didn't. A year later, Keisha stood in the same federal courthouse where Marcus had been sentenced, but this time she was there for a very different reason. She was receiving a commendation from the FBI for her cooperation in exposing the largest municipal corruption case in Atlanta's history. Mrs. Williams, the federal prosecutor, said during the ceremony, "Your courage in the face of systematic betrayal helped us recover over $8 million in stolen taxpayer money and led to the conviction of 12 public officials." In the audience, she could see Kayla and Kendra sitting with James Mitchell and his wife Sarah, who had become like family to them. Maria Santos was there too, along with Detective Coleman and several FBI agents who'd become friends during the investigation. Simone Martinez, Agent Martinez, approached after the ceremony. "Keisha, I owe you an apology that I've been trying to figure out how to give for a year. You were doing your job. I was doing my job, but I also let you believe I was something I wasn't. I know that added to your pain during an already impossible time. Simone, Agent Martinez, you saved my life. You warned me about the warehouse trap. You helped catch the people who wanted to kill my family. We're good. Will you ever forgive Marcus?" It was the question everyone asked, but nobody wanted to answer themselves. "I've forgiven a Marcus I thought I married," Keisha said finally. "The man I loved for 12 years. But the man who tried to have me killed? I'm still working on that." 2 years later, Phoenix Construction had grown into one of Atlanta's most respected companies. They specialized in community development projects, affordable housing, and restoring buildings with historical significance. Keisha had completed her contractor's license and was working on a degree in construction management. The girls were thriving in school, both of them interested in architecture and engineering. On a warm spring evening, as Keisha reviewed blueprints for their latest project, a women's shelter that would house families escaping domestic violence, her doorbell rang. A young woman stood on her porch, nervous and clearly pregnant. "Mrs. Williams? My name is Jennifer Hayes. I'm Jeffrey Hayes's daughter." Jeffrey Hayes, the corrupt city councilman who'd owned the cabin where Marcus had taken the girls. "I know who you are," Keisha said carefully. "I wanted to apologize for what my father did, and I wanted to ask for help." "What kind of help?" "I'm leaving my husband. He hurts me. I saw the news story about your women's shelter project, and I was hoping. I know I don't deserve anything from you, considering what my family did, but I don't have anywhere else to go." Keisha looked at this young woman, barely 25, carrying a child, fleeing from violence, and saw herself 3 years ago, desperate, alone, not knowing who to trust. "Jennifer, what your father did has nothing to do with you. Come inside. Let's figure this out." As they sat in Keisha's kitchen, Jennifer told her story. An abusive marriage, financial control, threats against her and her unborn child. The same pattern Keisha had lived through, just with different names and faces. "The shelter won't be ready for 6 months, Keisha said, "but you can stay here until we find you a safe place. I can't pay you anything. I'm not asking you to, but I might ask you to help me with something. Anything. I'm starting a support group for women who've experienced domestic violence and financial abuse. Would you consider sharing your story? Not publicly, just with other women who need to know they're not alone." Jennifer wiped tears from her eyes. "Yes, I'd like that." 6 months later, the Phoenix Women's Center opened its doors with 32 beds for families escaping domestic violence. The support group had grown to 40 women who met weekly to share their stories and help each other rebuild their lives. At the grand opening ceremony, Keisha stood before a crowd of supporters, city officials, and media, with her daughters beside her. 3 years ago, I thought my life was over," she said. "I had lost everything I thought mattered. My marriage, my home, my security. But what I discovered is that when you lose everything built on lies, you get the chance to rebuild everything on truth." She looked at Kayla and Kendra, now 10 years old and confident young women who spoke at school assemblies about resilience and family strength. "My daughters learned that families aren't just about blood relationships. They're about people who show up when life gets hard, who tell you the truth even when it hurts, and who help you become the person you're meant to be." The crowd applauded, but Keisha wasn't finished. To any woman out there who's living with betrayal, abuse, or systematic destruction of everything you've worked for, you are not alone. You are stronger than you know. And when God closes one door, He doesn't just open another. He sends helpers, allies, and friends you never expected to guide you through. She gestured toward James Mitchell, Maria Santos, Detective Coleman, and the dozens of people who had become her chosen family. "They say it takes a village to raise a child. I learned that it takes a community to save a woman. And sometimes, when you're brave enough to ask for help, that community becomes your family." As the ceremony ended and people mingled, enjoying food and touring the new facility, Jennifer Hayes approached with her 6-month-old daughter. "Mrs. Williams, I wanted you to meet someone." The baby was beautiful, with bright eyes and a curious expression. "What's her name?" "Hope Keisha Hayes. I named her after the woman who saved us both." That night, after everyone had gone home and the girls were asleep, Keisha sat on her front porch with a letter she'd been carrying for 2 years. The letter from Marcus that she'd never opened. She looked at it one final time, then tore it up without reading it. Some chapters of your life don't deserve to be revisited. Some people don't earn the right to have a last word. Instead, she opened her laptop and began writing the first chapter of a book she'd been thinking about for months, Rising from Betrayal, a guide for women rebuilding after domestic financial abuse. Because her story wasn't ending with survival, it was beginning with purpose. And sometimes, when you're left with nothing, God doesn't just send a helper. He turns you into the helper someone else desperately needs. The phoenix had not only risen from the ashes, she was teaching others to fly. The end. Thank you for following Keisha's incredible journey from betrayal to triumph. If this story inspired you, please share it with someone who needs to know they're not alone. Hit that subscribe button for more powerful stories of resilience. And remember, no matter how dark your situation seems, there's always hope for a new beginning. Your Phoenix moment might be closer than you think. Should have thought about that before you became a thief and a liar.